very warm welcome. You're watching World 360. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. This week, Russian President Vladimir Putin has paid a much-talked-about state visit to India, one that bears testimony to the time-tested spirit of Druzhba Dosti, a term which means friendship in Russian and Hindi. The message behind the optics was clear that Moscow and New Delhi both believe in an independent foreign policy. Both promote just and democratic multipolar order through multilateral forums like BRICS, SCO and the G20. This even as Prime Minister Modi was careful to say that India was not neutral on the Ukraine war and stood on the side of peace. Now, given the historic nature of the India-Russia defence partnership, the lack of a major defence deal did arrive as a surprise. Interestingly, Putin was bold to say that Russia will continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel to India. This amid US pressure to stop buying oil from Russia. So both India and Russia are aware that a temporary surge in the oil trade cannot be the only pillars of this bilateral trade relationship, which is why Putin's state visit ensured trade diversification, with major deals inked on critical minerals, connectivity projects, healthcare, pharma, travel, nuclear energy cooperation, and shipbuilding. Remember, the decades of mutual trust between India and Russia has arrived as an invaluable insurance against global instability, even more so as India and the US continue to pursue a trade deal. Fault lines persist between Washington and New Delhi. Those on issues of trade, H-1B visas, Pakistan, and Trump's push for a G2 with China. All of that undoing decades of US policy that once upon a time viewed New Delhi as the only power that could contain Beijing in the Indo-Pacific. So for Donald Trump's administration, which has been rather myopic in its approach to New Delhi, not to forget, several of his senior advisors have publicly disparaged India in recent months. So Putin's trip is not just a reminder that India-Russia ties are a pole star, but it's also a wake-up call for Donald Trump that Washington's high-handed approach to New Delhi is a diplomatic failing. Sukanya Saha brings you the headlines.
Washington and Brussels. The European Commission has slapped a massive $140 million fine on Platform X, and the backlash in the United States has been explosive. American lawmakers aren't treating this as a simple regulatory penalty. They are calling it a coordinated attempt by foreign governments to weaken US tech companies and police American speech. Now to Africa's Great Lakes region, where diplomacy fell apart faster than the ink dried, just hours after Donald Trump hosted Congo's Felix Tshisekedi and Rwanda's Paul Kagame in Washington to reaffirm a US-brokered peace deal. Fighting erupted again in eastern Congo. The region is rich in minerals and poor in stability, and fresh clashes raise a tough question. If a peace deal collapses in a day, was it ever real to begin with? Next, we have a lighter but still headline-grabbing moment in Washington, where Donald Trump has received a special recognition from FIFA for his own efforts to promote the upcoming 2026 World Cup, which the US will co-host with Mexico and Canada. Next, we have a major development in South Asia's military landscape. Pakistan has appointed Field Marshal Asim Munir as the country's first Chief of Defence Forces. The position puts him in control of all three services and gives him oversight of the National Strategic Command, meaning Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. It centralizes unprecedented military authority in one office at a time when the region is already on edge. And finally, in London, a major crackdown on Khalistan-linked networks. The UK has frozen the assets of Gurpreet Singh Rehal, who authorities said is tied to Babar Khalsa and its offshoot Babar Akali Leher. The Treasury accuses him of everything from recruitment and financing to helping procure weapons for these groups. Babar Akali Leher itself has also been hit with a full asset freeze for promoting and supporting the same militant network. From today, neither Rehal nor the organization can access or move any funds in the UK, and Rehal is banned from serving as a company director.
So in the days gone by, the world was glued to a mega Modi-Putin power play unfolding in New Delhi. A meeting packed with dosti, diplomacy and decisive deals. At the heart of the talks is a 2030 roadmap for trade and business. It's aimed at boosting everything from energy cooperation and critical minerals to high-tech manufacturing and connectivity projects. But beyond policy papers, it's the visible bonhomie between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin that grabbed the world's attention. Their effortless camaraderie signals stability in a relationship many call India's strategic trump card, balancing global pressures while securing national interests. As power equations keep evolving, the Modi-Putin engagement underscored one message. India and Russia are not just renewing ties, they are recalibrating their future. Let's take you through the key takeaways of this meet. Vision 2030 is now all set to aim for $100 billion trade between India and Russia. Russia has set a major goal to boost this bilateral trade by 2030, signaling deeper economic cooperation with India. India is going to establish pharma factory in Russia. Large Indian pharmaceutical factory is all set to be built in the country. Production of high-quality anti-tumor medicinal drugs using the advanced Indian technology will also be a prime focus. Russia is all set to, in fact, Russia will be setting up a joint urea production in India, and both countries will jointly produce urea to enhance fertilizer security. Not to forget that food security is also going to be a top priority in times of changing geopolitical climate. Cooperation in the energy sector and nuclear sectors is also another key takeaway, as India and Russia committed to deepening civil nuclear and energy cooperation, with Russia all set to provide technology for small to medium nuclear reactors. E-visa facility for Russian tourists in India has also been announced. As Prime Minister Modi announced that a free e-visa facility for Russian tourists will enhance travel and strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. As far as a new trade route is concerned, it will be set up via Belarus. This project will create north-south transport from Russia and Belarus to the Indian Ocean coast as well. Not to forget, the corridor between Vladivostok and Chennai was also much talked about, and a memorandum of understanding was also on migration and labor mobility. These agreements, remember, establish a framework for the movement of skilled workers from India to Russia and aim to promote safe and mutually beneficial migration between the two countries. This, as we all know, Russia is suffering from a labor shortage after it lost close to 1 million Russians just on the front lines alone. An MOU on healthcare and medical education was also envisaged because of cooperation between India and Russia in the field of healthcare, medical education and science through exchange of information and specialists and joint scientific research. So Prime Minister Modi has reaffirmed India's long-standing partnership with Russia, calling this relationship steady, reliable and resilient, even amid turbulent geopolitical currents. He said the two countries are like the pole star for each other, a guiding light. And President Putin echoed this sentiment, assuring uninterrupted energy cooperation. That's significant given the 25% US tariffs on India for continued purchase of Russian oil. President Putin has also emphasized on a shared vision for a multipolar global order. Listen in to the reactions.
पिछले 8 दशकों में विश्व में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव आए हैं। मानवता को अनेक चुनौतियों और संकटों से गुजरना पड़ा है, और इन सब के बीच भी भारत रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरह बनी रही है। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और रूस ने लंबे समय से कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर सहयोग किया है। पहलगाम में हुआ आतंकी हमला हो या क्रोकस सिटी हॉल पर किया गया कायरतापूर्ण आघात, इन सभी घटनाओं की जड़ एक ही है। भारत का अटल विश्वास है कि आतंकवाद मानवता के मूल्यों पर सीधा प्रहार है, और इसके विरुद्ध वैश्विक एकता ही हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में हमारी मित्रता हमें ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस का सामना करने की शक्ति देगी और यही भरोसा हमारे साझा भविष्य को और समृद्ध करेगा.
We are also conducting a flagship project to build the largest Indian nuclear power plant, Kudankulam. 2 out of 6 reactor units have been already connected to the energy network and 4 are still under construction. Getting this nuclear power plant to full power output will give an impressive contribution to the energy requirements of India. It will help supply Indian enterprises and houses with cheap and clean energy. Russia is a reliable supplier of oil, gas, coal and everything that is required for the development of India's energy. We are ready to continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel for the fast-growing Indian economy. Russia and India are conducting independent and self-sufficient foreign policy together with the like-minded countries in BRICS and SCO and from among other countries of the global majority. We are promoting the processes of forming of a more just and democratic multipolar world order.
So with India and Russia looking to expand trade ties beyond their dipping oil trade, much of the focus was on Ross Congress and the India-Russia Business Forum that witnessed a great deal of business deals and synergy in various sectors such as healthcare, pharma, fertilizers and digital payment platforms. We bring you key voices from the Russian delegation. You just mentioned that pharmaceuticals is one area where India and Russia can deepen their partnership. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, I've just said that we knew Indian medicine many years. And I was a little boy when I first time saw Indian medicine in Russian drugstores. And now I can say that we have a few joint venture, Russia and India. I'm the chief of the Association of Russian manufacturers, Russian pharmaceutical manufacturers, and there are few companies from India which localize their manufacturers in Russia. One of them bought manufacturers active from Russian companies, and another one they built new manufacturing, new plant, and now they work in Russia. But at the same time, it's only 2 examples. We work with many Indian companies in sphere of chemistry because we need API, we need special ingredients for manufacturers, active substances. We work with chemical companies which produce packing for medicine. It's also
Let's talk about the field of medicine. A lot of Indian students go and study and now they are doctors in Russia. At a time you're seeing there's so much vetting of the H-1B visa applicants in the United States. Do you think India and Russia can also forge deeper ties as far as the field of medicine and education is concerned?
About 30 years ago, I was vice dean in Moscow Medical University, and I talked with Indian students many times. They like Russia. Some of them, first of all, at first time afraid winter, but now I can say that winter in Russia not very cold.
So, India happens to be one of the countries with the highest STEM students. What do you have to say about Indian students who choose to stay on in Russia and become doctors?
Students is a students. Young man is a young man. If student want to become real doctor, she spent lots of time in institute, in operators, in halls, in libraries, and become a good doctor.
Let's quickly have a word on Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. What is strengthening their friendship, and what do you think makes them 2 leaders which are so unique? Do you see any commonalities between both of them as leaders?
If to say serious about students, of course that we have good schools in different towns of Russia, and we decide. I know that we want to become quota for Indian students more, and we hope that more students from India will go to Russia. And to this situation, we prepare our teachers, because they should know English very well. They should have lots of books in English, and of course that we will develop this direction of education.
All right, let's now talk about Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. What are the commonalities you see between both of them as world leaders?
First of all, they are independent leaders, and each of them like their own countries, and they understand each other. They are real friends, and in Russia we say that it's better to have when you want to buy, for example, new house, we said better buy not house but neighbor. We are not neighbor because we don't have a common board, but we are real friends, and we hope that these relationships will be only developed.
How much importance Russia places on travel and tourism when it comes to India? Why so?
Okay. First of all, I need to tell about our company a little bit. We are Fun and Sun, biggest tour operator in Russia, and we decide to grow new destination like India. Of course, our tourists are ready to travel to Goa, but now we want to launch different places for them, invite people to Delhi and different places with a big history and big heritage, and I hope people will be love that like me.
You mentioned Delhi. Apart from Delhi, any other cities or states that you are looking to go to in and capitalize on in India?
Not now, but in future. I hope in next 2 years, I think we will be ready. And first of all, it depends from Indian Airlines too, if they're ready to launch new flights to Moscow, to different Moscow city. I hope.
One quick word on Prime Minister Modi and President Putin's friendship. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, it's beautiful. I hope it will be all time, and I decide. I guess it is very important for all of our countries and important for all of our world.
What has brought you to the India-Russia Business Forum today?
So thank you very much for invitation in this forum. To my mind, it's very good idea for connection of businesses both countries. From my side, we can offer to Indian market very interesting technology which save money, lot of money for machinery and metallurgy.
What kind of machinery?
Everywhere, where
Big machinery.
Big machinery.
All right, so we here at World 360 also interacted with a Russian politician of Indian origin, Abhay Singh, and Dr. Ajay Sahai, who emphasized on the need for diversification of the India-Russia trade. Listen in to this exclusive coverage from Ross Congress and the India-Russia Business Forum. Sir, our Honourable Minister for Commerce and Industries, Mr. Piyush Goyal, said that India and the Russia bilateral trade partnership goes a long way, but this still needs a more diverse basket. Could you expand a bit on that?
If you are looking into the trade numbers, we grew from $13 billion in financial year 2021-22 to over $68 billion in the last fiscal. But this trade is heavily skewed. This needs to be more balanced and more diversified.
So when you say it's skewed, how can we balance it? How is it skewed?
It's skewed because we are importing much more and we are supplying much less. We are importing around $63 billion, exporting close to $5 billion. While we move towards a goal of $100 billion by 2030, it's important the exports catch up. And I think there are a number of segments where we have not yet exploited the potential.
Like?
Automobile and auto component segment is one such segment. IT and IT-enabled services, electrical and electronics, textile, food and agri products. They are the emerging area where Russia is looking forward.
There are two key big bets which are also being talked about. One is the defense partnership. The other is connecting both the countries in terms of a direct digital payment network with RuPay and NIR also joining in.
In fact, I think a number of services Russia and India can go for the joint venture. Digital payment and fintech integration, one such services. Healthcare and telemedicine can be the other one. We can also looking into skill development and vocational training, particularly let us say we talk about the seafaring and crew training. We can look into these areas.
What are those areas that you believe will be strengthening this bilateral partnership?
I think India should decide what is favorable for Indian citizen.
Which is?
Energy sector I am talking about. So where to buy petrol, where to buy gas, CNG, and India should make a balance. US countries, West countries, they are also friend of India. I am not telling that for Russian oil, India should fight with everybody. But India should make a balance, and after that he should make a decision what to do. And we have got several other sectors where we can work. I think very soon it will be declared the labor sector. A lot of Indians started already moving to Russia for work. Health sector, we have got good medicine, good vaccines, so India should go for that.
Why do you think there is such a strong camaraderie between President Putin and Prime Minister Modi? And do you believe that has also helped in shaping these ties?
Sure. That is a very big factor why India and Russia is becoming closer. Because, both head of both countries, they are very good friends. You see how they meet. You see the body language. I think personal contribution of two leaders is very much important in this relation.
And so remember, President Putin's visit to India has had significant implications for India-Russia relations. In an exclusive conversation with CNN News 18, in fact, former Indian envoy to Russia, Ambassador Ajay Malhotra, has decoded what this visit means, especially for trade, defense cooperation and regional politics. Let's listen in.
We upgraded it to a special and privileged strategic partnership. And so that is it. So
given the historic nature of the India-Russia defense partnership and the upcoming procurements that India is looking to finalize, particularly the S-400, even the Sukhoi 57, and the renewed focus, especially on national security after Operation Sindoor, is the defense partnership also going to test India's tightrope between Russia and the West?
I don't think we are on a tightrope here. We have traditionally had good defense ties with every country who wanted to sell their equipment to us, which was of good quality, and if we wanted to buy it at that quality. And we would look at the price, we would look at the availability of spares, we would look at technology transfer and other aspects of it. And traditionally, we have had French Mirages, British Jaguars, Swiss Pilatus planes, trainers, Swedish Bofors, etc. So that is maybe a lot more of the Russian equipment because it is hardy, it is price competitive, and there was technology transfer. If others offer on similar terms, we would weigh them all. And in any case, our intention is to manufacture domestically. We want to be self-sufficient in this. Atmanirbhar is our policy. But till the time we achieve this self-sufficiency, particularly where they are.
Speaking of Operation Sindoor and the upcoming defense procurement, which also includes this technology transfer that you're talking about and deep localization, will this meet be closely watched by Pakistan and China as well, given China's defense assistance to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor?
I'm sure they would be closely watching it. Russia has never really supplied to Pakistan except for 4 Mi-35 helicopters in the Afghanistan context for anti-drug action. But China has been, rather excessive, like America. Let's not forget our good American friends who have been regularly supplying sophisticated fighter planes and other equipment to the Pakistanis, whom they continue to consider as a major non-NATO ally. So we too are watching what the rest of the world is doing. And I hope if they are watching us, we have absolutely no problem.
It will be Putin's first India visit since the war began. Prime Minister Modi has always maintained that it's not an era of war and the solution doesn't lie on the battlefield. But US mediation is currently on with the active involvement of President Trump himself, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner as well. Despite its partnership with Russia in multilateral forums like, say, BRICS or even the G20 and the good offices India shares with Ukraine, does India's mediation effort even matter?
I don't see the reason, because if you say you want dialogue and diplomacy, excuse me, dialogue is what the Anchorage meeting was about. And diplomacy is these interactions which you have pointed out, Witkoff and Jared Kushner and others, interacting with Lavrov and Kirill Dmitriev, etc. So that's underway. So they don't need any interlocutor. They have not asked for an interlocutor. It would be quite strange for us to go and insert ourselves into that and say we want to mediate. Excuse me, they're doing fine out there. And we hope they reach good results. In fact, our encouragement should be to the Americans and Russians, please move ahead a little faster. That's about it. But like we would resent if they would try and mediate in our concerns where they're uninvited, I think equally we should not step forward, nor have we done so.
And speaking of peace efforts on Ukraine, this week has been instrumental for the war in Ukraine. Remember, the Florida talks saw Ukraine's team briefed on a recent meeting between Steve Witkoff, Trump's most senior overseas envoy, and Russian President Vladimir Putin. I leave you with a report by CNN News 18's Sanjay Suri. Thank you so much for watching our special coverage on Putin-Modi meet here on World 360.
Past this visit, Akanksha, we do need to remind ourselves that Rajghat is a long way from Pokrovsk in every sense of the term. So away from the pleasing protocol we saw in Delhi and the bilateral announcements that were made, we are a long way from peace yet. And the clearest indication of that has come from Putin himself. He has said that the Russian capture of Pokrovsk, and that capture has been claimed on the basis of some credible evidence, only gives the Russians a bridgehead, as Putin put it, for further advances. The next targets are likely to be Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, and both of those are key administrative and military centers for Ukraine. On those two really may depend the course of this war itself. If Ukraine loses those two, it's done for. Putin could then look to push much further. He very likely would. And given, of course, all these declared aims from Putin, it was no surprise that Steve Witkoff returned empty-handed from Moscow after almost 5 hours of talks. Trump's support for Ukraine is now close to zero. The Europeans are not likely to be effective enough in stopping the Russians. There is no stopping Putin by the looks of it, not easily, not soon. The Ukrainians are really up against it, and this could be a very hard winter for Ukraine, and it could get harder beyond.